Alright, I'm going to kick this review off with a little bit of a spoiler alert. If anybody out there is wondering whether or not Genesis can now compete with Audi, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz, yes, they definitely can. Nonetheless, Genesis is still a growing luxury brand that's still in their earlier years, but that's what I think makes them so exciting. They are totally changing the game when it comes to what you can expect from a young luxury brand, so much so that they're starting to outshine established luxury brands. That being said, Genesis was still pretty late to the luxury SUV segment, which is the most important in the luxury market. They started off strong with a full sedan lineup, and only now are they offering us SUVs like the GV80, which I'll test later this month, and next year you'll get the GV70, which looks really good. But let's stick to sedans and check out the 2021 Genesis G80, and I'll give you a quick tour of it, and then I'll give you my opinion on what I think about it. But before I do, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit like, because it's very good for you. All right, let's do this. All right, so there are a ton of cool and interesting features here about the Genesis G80, and a lot of them show just how serious Genesis is as a brand competing in the luxury segment. First up, you have a feature called Smart Park. Now, this is nothing new to Genesis. In fact, this is nothing new to Hyundai. You've seen this on the Sonata. The thought here is that you should be able to put the Genesis G80 or pull out of a tight parking spot to make life a little bit easy for yourself. To activate Smart Park, you just use your key to remote start it first, and then you use the two P buttons right here. This is for reverse, this is for forward, and you just hold it down and the G80 will start moving. Now, I don't know how much you'll use this feature in real life, but it's definitely a cool party trick. So you know when I said that Genesis is serious about competing in the luxury brand, let me show you what I mean. By the way, I have this in accessory mode. That's why all the check engine lights are on, so don't complain. This is a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster display, but it's also a 3D digital gauge cluster display, and that's simply amazing. You probably can't see this on camera, but it looks amazing in person. And that's not even the coolest thing. Check out what happens when I switch through the drive modes. This is comfort, this is sport, this is eco, which looks pretty cool actually, and this is custom, which looks just like comfort. Sport is my favorite by far. If you look closely, the needle when you're in sport mode looks like a lightsaber. It has like kind of a recurring animation that looks like a flame. Looks really cool. The new G80 also adopts another feature that I love in Hyundai and Genesis models, and it's the lane change camera. Indicate left and you'll see what's in your left blind spot. Indicate right and you'll see what's in your right blind spot. That is very useful, and I really wish more automakers would adopt it in their cars. Now, a lot of luxury automakers are starting to go full digital screens when it comes to the HVAC controls, but Genesis has done this in a really nice way. You still have analog controls to circle through your temperatures, but things like the fan speed, heated and cooled seats, and a heated steering button and other functions are tucked away in this really cool looking screen. Now let's move on to the infotainment system here. This is the new Genesis infotainment system, and it's housed in a beautiful and crisp 14.5-inch touchscreen display, and it has navigation as standard. This is standard across the whole G80 lineup. So yeah, you can control it by just touching the screen, or you can use this rotary iPod looking control down here, which does take some time to get used to. You can simply scroll through the infotainment system by spinning this dial, and you can also use the center part to write out navigation destinations or phone numbers. Let's give it a try. All right, so let's say I want to go to Starbucks. Let's write it out. STARBUCKS. Starbucks. There it is. That being said, let's dive deeper into this infotainment system. This is your home screen, and it looks really cool. You get the weather, whatever you're playing on your radio or media. Then you have kind of like an overlay of your navigation without the name of the roads. Then you swipe left and you're welcomed by all these menu options. Now I can literally sit here for a long time and point out a bunch of cool things that I've discovered, but just to give you a quick overview, I love how Hyundai really makes everything customizable. And not only that, they tell you in a short description of what you're messing around with so you don't screw anything up. You do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, and it's huge. It's the biggest Apple CarPlay I've ever seen in my life, thanks to this giant 14.5-inch touchscreen display. It's absolutely beautiful. That being said, one of the highlights that I want to point out is Sounds of Nature. Now, you've seen this on other Hyundai, Genesis, and Kia models, and it's also here in the Genesis G80, and one of the weirdest ones here is Snowy Village. Let's take a listen. Check out that creepiest sound coming up right now. That is super freaky. I honestly would freak out if I was driving listening to Snowy Village. Again, Genesis will let you basically customize everything. And one of the things that you can customize is the amount of engine noise coming into the cabin. You go to Active Sound Design, and you can pick between strong, normal, soft, and off, and that will adjust the amount of engine noise coming into the cabin. Now here's something that made its debut in the 2020 Genesis G90. It's called Smart Posture Care, and basically it recommends a posture that fits the driver's body type. So you just go in here, enter your information. I already entered my information here. You hit posture analysis, and it will analyze the posture, and it'll tell you that you're way out of the recommended range. You hit adjust posture, and the seat will just adjust itself to what it thinks is the best setting. Honestly, I don't think this is the best setting. It feels really weird for my driving style. So you don't get massaging seats here in the G80, but you do get something called Ergo Motion Seat. And what that does is once you activate it, it will help you do some stretching while you're going for a long drive. So you can do pelvic stretching, lumbar stretching, whole body stretching, and you can just keep it off, which is what I would do because it kind of feels weird. Now, when it comes to the camera game, you obviously have a 360 view camera, which is expected in this luxury segment. Taking it a step further and taking a page out of the German luxury brands, you also have this image mapping, which gives you a 3D view of your full car. It's not as smooth as you would see from an Audi, BMW, or Mercedes-Benz, but it's still pretty nice to see that they have it here. Another interesting setting that I found while digging around here was something called power trunk opening height. You can have it half open or full open. And then you also have a setting called smart trunk, which opens the trunk lid automatically when approaching the trunk with a smart key. So I'm going to turn this on and have power trunk opening to half open. And let's see this in action. All right, so since I started filming the Genesis G80, it snowed quite a bit in Jersey. So sorry for the car being a mess, but let's approach the car with the smart key and see what happens. Takes a second and it opens automatically and it's half open. Pretty cool. So yeah, it doesn't end there. There are many other things like a digital key, a bunch of really cool driver assist tech. You can even switch lanes automatically just by hitting the signal, but I'll dive deeper into those things when I review the Genesis GV80 SUV later this month. So make sure you check back for that one. So at this point, you're probably wondering how much all this cool stuff costs. Pricing starts at $47,700 for the base 2.5 rear-wheel drive model, and the top of the line 3.5 all-wheel drive model starts at $62,250. And that's not bad at all considering what this thing competes with. Now let's talk about power and performance. Power for the model that I'm testing here comes from a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 making 375 horsepower, and it's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. The base model comes with a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo making 300 horsepower. Now this is more about comfort than it is about power, but it's still reasonably quick. The twin turbo V6 here will do 0 to 60 in 5 seconds flat, and the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo will do it in about 6 seconds. When it comes to fuel economy, the 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 model gets 19 city, 27 highway. You have a giant 19.3 gallon tank capacity. I'm averaging, after a few days of driving, a total of 21.5 miles a gallon. Not that bad, I'm driving pretty nicely. Alright, moving on, the new G80 features the brand's athletic elegance design language that we first saw on the 2020 Genesis G90, and now it's making its way across the lineup, and I think it looks pretty nice. I like the design quite a bit. It's definitely different for the segment, and I also think it will help Genesis stand out from the crowd. That said, my favorite design cues include the power lines that run across the car and help it give it a very bold and aggressive stance. I also like the giant crest grille. It's huge, and I know a lot of people don't like giant grills, but I think it looks really nice here. I also really like the design of the headlamps. In my opinion, headlamps are probably one of the most important design elements of any car. You should be easily able to tell the brand of any car just by looking at the design of the headlamps, and I think Genesis has done a really good job here to help them stand out. And the same goes for the taillights. They have a similar 2-tier design, and they look really, really cool. Not to mention, these aren't a part of any upgrades or packages. These lights here are standard across the lineup. Finally, these wheels look super dope. If you go for the 2.5 G80, you'll get 18-inch wheels as standard, and then you can upgrade to 19-inch wheels. The 3.5 here will give you 19-inch wheels as standard, and then you can upgrade to 20-inch wheels. Overall, I think Genesis did a great job with the exterior design of the G80. It will really help them stand out in a crowd of Audi A6s, BMW 5 Series, Mercedes-Benz E-Class, Volvo S90, and the Lexus ES. I think this one is probably one of the best looking sedans in the segment. Moving on, let's hop inside, and this is where the new G80 and all new Genesis models really shine. Not to mention, this is where you'll be spending most of your time, so let's take a look around. Now, we've already seen much of the tech earlier on in this review, so let's just talk about design and quality. This is an outstanding place to be. Genesis did not skimp out on anything when it comes to using high quality materials. Everything here is really nice to the touch. You have a leather wrap dash, you have real wood trim, nice aluminum trim. Maybe it's plastic, but it looks aluminum, so that's cool. and soft touch materials all around. The door handles, everything that's visible to the eye, and even parts that are not visible to the eye look really nice. The only area where I think Genesis kind of skimped out, the steering wheel looks really nice, looks really good. All leather wrapped, nice to hold. But this area here, it's like this weird, cheap looking hard plastic. I don't know what happened there. But I can easily forgive them for that because take a look at these wiper stocks. Very nice finish to them. Same with the indicator. They don't have to do that, but they did. And even these buttons on the steering wheel have a nice little rubber coating. They aren't just like hard plastic buttons. And take a look at these seats. These are extremely comfortable. You get standard fake leather seats on the 2.5 model, and you can pay extra for leather there. On the 3.5, you get real leather, and then you can upgrade to soft touch Nappa leather like my test model here. Heated front seats are standard on all G80 models. The 2.5 will give you cooled seats if you pay extra, and they are standard on the 3.5 model. Heated rear seats are optional on both models. Unless you go for the all-wheel drive model, you get rear heated seats as standard, so if you want the rear passengers to have some extra comfort, pay up. Also optional is a heated steering wheel for both the 2.5 and the 3.5 models. And again, if you go for the all-wheel drive model, the heated steering wheel will be standard. And if you're wondering, you do get ambient lighting, and you have a bunch of colors, preset colors that you can pick from, or you can pick a custom color by choosing it from the color wheel here. This interior ambient lighting system isn't as nice as the ones you see on BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audis, but it's okay. It's not as great as those German luxury brands, but it's still pretty nice. The coolest thing that I noticed about the ambient lighting here in the G80 is that the gear mode selector will turn the color of whatever you have the ambient lighting set to, but when you pop it into reverse, it will turn red to let you know that you're reversing, and then when you pop it back into drive, it will turn whatever color you have it set to. That's a really nice touch. So one more cool thing that I noticed is that you can set your climate control using that screen down there, or you can do it right here in the infotainment system, and it looks pretty dope. It looks really nice. There's a bunch of climate settings that you can circle through. Then you can go down here and set the rear climate controls. But what's really cool is when you turn it on, there's a nice little animation for the vents giving out air. And again, that's a nice touch. Genesis has done a really good job with these animations and subtle touches. Let's hop in the back seat and see what kind of legroom you're working with. You get a total of 38.7 inches of legroom back here, and it's not terrible. I'm about 6 foot tall. That's my seating position. As you can see, I still have plenty of room. It's quite spacious in here, actually. And if you do require more legroom, make sure you sit behind the passenger, because you could just move them forward and backward without asking, but move them forward because it'll be quite a bit of fun. And then you have your own climate settings back here. You have, on my test model specifically, heated rear seats, and then you have the ability to put up the hater shade in the back just like that automatically, but the side shade is manual, and I can never seem to latch it, ever. I'm so bad at this. Oh, I got one of them. Now, before I give you my opinion on how it is to drive the new Genesis G80, let me point out a few random things that I'll have to show all of you. You have 4 cup holders, 2 in the front for the front passengers, obviously, and 2 in the back for the rear passengers. Here are what the keys look like for the 2021 Genesis G80. These are really nice keys. There's a lot of functionality in here, so this is one of my favorite key fobs of 2020 or 2021. Let's hear the door open and close sound, but by the way, these are soft closed doors here on the Genesis G80. Pretty cool. From the outside and from the inside, definitely solid. Depending on the model you do get a wireless charger. On the 2.5, it is optional. On the 3.5, it's standard, and then you have 2 USB ports right here, one for your projection and one for just charging your phone. And don't worry, if you're in the back seat of the G80, you also get a USB port to charge your phone, and it's right here under the armrest. Last but not least, let's hear how the horn sounds on the 2021 Genesis G80. Definitely solid. And now that I've given you a tour of the 2021 Genesis G80, let me give you my opinion on what I think about this awesome mid-size luxury sedan. Let's get to it. So the Genesis G80 here competes with the Audi A6, BMW 5 Series, Mercedes-Benz E-Class, Lexus ES because the GS is gone, and the Volvo S90. All the German competitors start in the mid $55,000 range. The Volvo SC90 starts right over $50,000. This here is right under $48,000. And the Lexus ES, which is not really even a competitor to this thing because this thing is a lot better than that starts right under 40 grand. Unfortunately, no matter how many nice things I say about the G80, those shopping for the German competition in this segment probably won't even consider this, and they'll miss out. I'm honestly very impressed by how nice the G80 is. It's taken Genesis quite a while to come to here, and I think they've done an amazing job. So how does it drive? The Genesis G80 is less of a sports sedan and more of an executive, luxury, comfortable sedan, and the way this thing just glides over bumps on the road is pretty amazing. Nonetheless, when you pop it in sport mode and hit the accelerator, this thing does move. 0 to 60 comes in at 5 seconds flat, and that's not too shabby. The 2.5 will do it at about 6 seconds, but 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, and the way this thing handles isn't that terrible. But again, this is not a sports sedan. This is more of a luxury, comfortable ride. I'm honestly very excited for the future of the Genesis brand. They're doing everything right, from exterior design to interior quality to innovative tech. As a complete package, it is very impressive. I'm looking forward to testing the GV80 later this month, the first SUV from Genesis, and I'm also looking forward to the GV70, which is the second SUV from the brand, and that one looks really nice. Either way, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit like, make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok at Omar Drives. I'll see you next week. Take care. Peace. And if you haven't looked at Genesis as a serious luxury brand, start doing so.